We're both excited to talk a little bit more about AI, but we didn't expect it to come from someone who works at a 124-year-old company. We thought it would be one of the technology leaders that we've met and had discussions with, but most companies just don't survive over 100 years, much less thrive. So I'm not sure what to call you, if it's a unicorn, or certainly I applaud your efforts in terms of understanding what the new trends are, because I have to agree, COVID changed everything and it continues to change many things. So, how are you, given your knowledge, leading that transformation with your organization with the use of AI?
Yeah, so I would say back to the longevity piece for Great Dane, we are approaching 125 years. And in thinking about a company being around that long, you typically think of all the hurdles that you clear from your product standpoint or how you do business standpoint. For me, thinking about sales, there's a lot of transformation over 125 years that's happened in our profession as well, from the printing press to the telephone to all these little things you never even dream of being big changes, even as early as the 90s, embracing internet. And then 2007, 2008, all of a sudden we have these little things here that we've got to embrace as salespeople and email. So here we are today, right, with another piece of technology,
Yeah.
another thing cutting edge that's impacting our profession. And I can say for us, we have just embraced it, Stephen. We've tried to consume as much as a team as we can around the subject. We've tried to not be afraid of it. Everybody sees the headlines and a lot of them are revolve around, hey, AI is going to replace your job and this and that. I don't believe that. I do believe it will impact your career if you don't use it and you don't get familiar with it and you don't evolve with it. But we've just been hands on and just tackling the different things. There's a lot there to unpack.
100%. I'm trying to figure out how to use it in my business. I am sure many sales leaders and salespeople are afraid. So kudos to Great Dane and your leadership to embrace it, but help our listeners understand where you have utilized it. Maybe give some examples of where and how it's impacting your organization right now. I know we're early stages, but maybe some examples so people can actually, we hear the concept AI, but what does it mean in Great Dane?
Yeah, sure. So just some simple things from a salesperson's point of view. Everybody's familiar with Google and what Google brings to you. AI is more of a featured benefit that you can interact with it and actually have it help you take your topic and evolve it. It's not something you have to put a whole lot of inputs in to help it interpret. Just a simple task for a salesperson going on a first call to a new conquest account. You can prompt AI to go in and not only look at the industry, look at the segmentation, look at the customer himself or herself. Look at the things, you can even ask it things like, hey, what are the troubles and what are the pain points that people in this segment of business typically have? And AI will generate a whole lot of information that you can keep pecking at and softening or building on or diving deeper and that sort of thing. One thing I will say with all of that is I'll caution you that AI is not always right. It has an ego to itself. It doesn't want to be wrong, right? So it's going to keep generating output, especially from a financial standpoint. It doesn't have all its equations correct. It's not going to get all your humor, or it might not get your terms or your catchphrases that you use and that sort of thing. So just a word of caution there. But for the most part, it's almost a sounding board. It's the coach that has this massive background of intel and information that can help you formulate, how am I going to knock on this door?
Okay.
Let me just dig a little deeper into that. Is this an expectation from the sales team, or is it an optional use when a sales manager is going out with one of the salespeople? Do they ask them if they've done this research? Like, how are you implementing this and how are you leveraging it?
It's an interesting question. Currently, we don't have any requirements or standards around it. It's one of those things in the tool belt. Every salesperson is different. Every salesperson has different working knowledge. I think, and I've seen this as more and more leaders and managers themselves get adept over it, the more it kind of trickles down, right? Even managers and leaders sometimes shy away from things they're not familiar with or don't want to look foolish in front of folks with. It takes some time. And I think that's really what's happening with us is it's organic in nature. I do see a time in the future where why wouldn't you do these types of prospecting things up front to just make sure you got those things covered? It's no different than the way people use LinkedIn.
Right. It's become standard procedure, whether it's enforced by the company, but you guys seem to be taking a lead in this area. And I think, wow, how do you accelerate it?
Yeah. And it's funny because it's just like artificial intelligence. It continues to learn at a massive rate. I think 8 times over a short period of time, it regenerates its own knowledge. The same thing's happening with people that are using. Because the more you do it, the more you talk about it, the more you have conversations like this. It's like, hey, try these prompts.
Yeah.
Try asking it this. Tell it to talk to you like you are an MBA student, not a Harvard professor. You can shape your conversations with it any way you want.